I have an unhealthy obsession with my stepbrother. Later, when I feared I might hurt him and was preparing to leave, he cornered me and said, "Run again, and I'll show you just how dirty the games in high society can get." The grand banquet hall glittered under dazzling lights. Men and women dressed in tailored suits and gowns exchanged polite yet hollow smiles. Among them, the most striking presence was Justin Vollmer, standing at the center of the gathering. His deep-set eyes, sharp features, and tall, elegant frame exuded a calm and refined demeanor. He looked every bit the picture of grace and poise, capturing everyone's attention the moment he entered. Next to me, and Salem nudged my shoulder, his expression darkening as he glared in Justin's direction. "Today is your birthday," and grumbled. "Why is everyone flocking around Justin Vollmer? A bunch of shameless sycophants." And Salem and I shared a similar background. Both of us had entered high society only because our mothers were married. Back then, many of the spoiled brats in our prestigious school looked down on us. They'd often gang up with their cronies to corner us. Perhaps because of those shared hardships, and Salem and I had quickly become close friends. I chuckled softly. Justin Vollmer is the head of the Vollmer family. If they don't curry favor with him, who else would they try to please? Me, the powerless, insignificant stepson, and clicked his tongue in irritation, leaning closer. "You should watch out for your stepbrother. My brother told me Justin Vollmer may seem gentle and courteous on the surface, but he's actually deeply calculating, a master manipulator. Even someone like my brother, who's a sly old fox himself, has fallen into Justin's traps before. You?" He shot me a glance, then sighed. "You look like a tough rebel who's hard to control, but if you go up against your brother, you'll probably end up with nothing left. He'll strip you to the bone." What Salem didn't know was that my stepbrother wasn't as invincible as he thought. Justin was fragile, almost heartbreakingly so. He was terrified of thunderstorms. Every time a storm rolled in, he'd turn pale and stumble into my room, curling into my arms. He couldn't fall asleep unless I held him tightly, covering his ears to block out the sound of the thunder. I remember the first time he showed up in my room in the middle of the night. It startled me. He looked terrible, his face pale, his tall frame trembling slightly. For someone over 6 feet tall, he somehow seemed incredibly fragile. His gaze flickered over me several times, his lips parting as if to speak, but he hesitated. Finally, he took a deep breath, as though making a difficult decision. "Kevin, can I sleep with you?" I'm afraid of the thunder," he said. At that time, our relationship was decent, but not close enough for something like this. I froze, unable to respond. Justin Vollmer's face instantly turned ghostly white, as if he were utterly humiliated. His voice trembled, tinged with a hint of tears, as he stammered, "If it's inconvenient, forget it. I won't bother you anymore." With that, he turned to leave. I've always had a habit of wanting to help those who seem vulnerable. Looking back, if it had been anyone else, I would never have let them in. But this was Justin Vollmer, and I, like Justin Vollmer, watching his reddened eyes and the mix of grievance and embarrassment on his face, left me unable to think straight. Before I realized it, I grabbed his arm as he was about to step out. "Try to sound casual," I muttered. "If you're scared, just stay here and sleep." Justin turned back, disbelief written all over his face. Really, the faint redness of the corners of his eyes, combined with his wide-eyed expression, made him look innocent and pure. Suddenly, I felt a bit warm. My Adam's apple bobbed as I shifted my gaze away. "Yeah." He broke into a big smile and climbed onto my bed. After I turned off the lights and lay down, a slender, bony hand suddenly tugged at the hem of my shirt. Then I heard his cautious voice in the dark. "Kevin, can you hold me? I'm still scared." I couldn't see his face in the darkness, but the slight tremble in his hand as he clutched my shirt told me he was genuinely frightened. So, I pulled him into my arms, pressing his face against my chest. Each time the thunder roared outside, Justin would flinch. I cupped his ears with my hand, soothing him until he fell asleep. But I couldn't tell Salem any of this. Justin made it clear, if anyone learned about his weakness, it would compromise his ability to manage the company. This secret was for me alone to know. I smirked, my tone full of certainty. He wouldn't dare. And Salem gave me a look that was difficult to interpret. After a moment, and Salem wrapped his arm around my neck and spoke with a tone of exasperation. "Pull yourself together, men. The Vollmer family is such a juicy piece of meat, and you're not the least bit interested." I couldn't tell him the truth. But I wasn't interested in the Vollmer family. I was only interested in my brother. Before I could respond, and Salem suddenly froze. His arm dropped from my neck as if he'd been scalded, and his expression turned into one of sheer terror, as though he had just seen a beast. I followed his gaze. My brother was standing not far away, wearing his usual gentle smile as he gave me a slight nod. For some inexplicable reason, I felt a sudden warmth rise to my cheeks and quickly turned my head to avoid his gaze. By the time I composed myself, and Salem still looked as though he'd been struck by lightning. After a long pause, he snapped out of it like someone who'd just returned from the brink of death, his face full of suspicion and fear. He whispered, "Did you see your brother's expression just now? It was terrifying. I felt like he was 1 second away from chopping off the aramite around your neck." His eyes were full of murderous intent. My brother's smile had been nothing but warm and kind. I pressed down on Salem's head, completely speechless. "You must be blind. My brother. Impossible. He's the kindest, most wonderful person in the world." As the banquet reached its peak, someone I least wanted to see appeared. Joanna Rice, the woman Justin Vollmer had liked when he was younger. I remember Justin once telling me that he had liked Joanna Rice since high school. But back then, she had a boyfriend, so he had buried his feelings deep inside. Later, Joanna went abroad, and they lost touch. Today was Joanna's first day back in the country. The moment Justin spotted her, his eyes lit up. From the second Joanna appeared, his gaze never left her. I didn't know what they were talking about, but Joanna covered her mouth and giggled, glancing in my direction before saying something else to Justin. Justin's lips curved into a faint smile. People around them commented on how perfectly they matched. A talented man and a beautiful woman standing together. Perfect. It was blindingly painful to watch. I unconsciously tightened my grip on the wine glass in my hand, squeezing so hard that my fingertips turned white. Dark, twisted thoughts began to swirl in my mind like untamed beasts unleashed from their chains, overwhelming me with their intensity. A voice whispered incessantly, "Lock Justin Vollmer away. Make sure his eyes can only see you. That way, he'll be yours." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to suppress these sordid, shameful ideas. It wasn't the first time I'd thought about locking Justin Vollmer away. On every night he didn't come home, on every occasion he laughed and shouted with someone else. I couldn't help but imagine imprisoning him. I wanted his heart and mind to be consumed entirely by me. Even if he hated me, at least he'd be mine and mine alone, forever entangled with me, unable to escape. But I couldn't bring myself to do it. Justin and I didn't start off on good terms. I joined the Vollmer family when I was 15. In those early days, I was like a hedgehog, using my bristling hostility to hide my insecurity. When Justin first saw me, he was indifferent. He ignored me completely, not speaking a single word, not even sparing me an extra glance. It seemed like he didn't care about who was in the family and rarely returned to the Vollmer estate. I don't know what changed, but eventually his attitude shifted. He began staying at the estate more often and was the first to extend a gesture of kindness toward me. I remember one time when I came home after a fight, bruised and battered. Justin happened to be there. He froze when he saw me and asked, "Why is your face covered in bruises? Who hit you?" Annoyed, I snapped, "None of your business." He didn't press further. I went to my room and lay down for only a few minutes before I saw Justin coming in with some medicine. "What are you doing?" I asked, staring at him, puzzled. He placed the medicine on the bedside table and said gently, "For your injuries." I scowled and turned away. I had always resented him because my mother treated him better than she treated me. That resentment turned into hostility. "Get lost. I don't need it. Stop bothering me," I said coldly. But he didn't leave. Instead, he dipped a cotton swab in iodine and pressed it against the corner of my injured mouth. The sharp sting made me suck in a breath, and I instinctively tried to grab his hand. But he deftly dodged me. He easily pinned me down with one hand and proceeded to apply the medicine with unwavering determination. His strength left me powerless to resist, so I could only let him do as he pleased. "Does it hurt?" His deep, magnetic voice resonated. I didn't reply, and he must have taken my silence as an admission. Suddenly, he leaned down, his face mere inches from mine, and stopped just short of touching my lips. Then, he gently blew on the wound at the corner of my mouth. In that instant, a tingling sensation spread through half my body, leaving me numb and covered in goosebumps. I don't remember how that day ended. I only recall that Justin Vollmer made a visit to my school soon after. From that day forward, no one dared to mess with me. I could only assume that he had warned them, reminded them I was part of the Vollmer family, and that they should think twice before crossing me. After that, I stopped resisting his gestures of kindness, and our relationship gradually improved. At first, I only felt a brotherly affection toward him, but over time, I found myself harboring an abnormal desire to control and possess Justin Vollmer. It wasn't until I heard him talk about his romantic past that a surge of jealousy and resentment took root in my heart. Yet when I learned they hadn't ended up together, I couldn't suppress a sense of glee. It was then I realized I might have fallen for Justin Vollmer. I'm not sure when the banquet ended, but Justin Vollmer uncharacteristically drank a lot that night. He seemed particularly happy, and even as I helped him to bed, a faint smile lingered on his lips. Was he that happy to see Joanna Rice? A tightness settled in my chest. I tucked him in and turned to leave, but a sudden strong pull on my hand stopped me. In the next moment, I found myself enveloped in his embrace. He lowered his head to look at me, his bright eyes brimming with starlight. His smile was intoxicating, and his arms hooked around my neck as he gazed at me with flushed cheeks. His lips parted slightly, and he murmured two words, "Kiss me." I froze in place. A second later, it struck me, he must have mistaken me for Joanna Rice. My expression darkened, and I immediately tried to pull away, but he refused to let go. With one swift move, he pushed me onto the bed, straddled my waist, and leaned in close to my ear, his voice hoarse and teasing. "Don't you like me? Why won't you kiss me?" A fire ignited in me, and my voice turned low and tense with frustration. "Justin, stop messing around, otherwise, I won't be able to hold back." He raised an eyebrow, a sly smile playing on his lips like a cunning fox. His voice dropped to a sultry whisper, full of temptation, as he gently pressed his fingertips to my lips. "Then don't hold back." I gritted my teeth. "Don't regret it." He didn't respond. Instead, he leaned down and kissed me, his lips pressing insistently against mine, moving with deliberate intensity. My mind went blank. It felt like my entire body was set ablaze, burning with heat. Without thinking, my hand moved to the back of Justin Vollmer's head, pulling him closer to deepen the kiss. We kissed for a long time. It wasn't until Justin Vollmer's hand slipped under my shirt and touched my abs that I suddenly snapped back to reality. Justin Vollmer was drunk and had mistaken me for someone else. But I wasn't drunk. When he sobered up tomorrow, he'd definitely be disgusted by me. Panic seized me, and I immediately pushed Justin Vollmer away, gasping for air. He, too, was breathing unevenly. In a hoarse voice, he asked, "What's wrong?" I couldn't bring myself to look at him. I clumsily wrapped him in the blanket and fled the room in a hurry. Because of that, I didn't see the sudden coldness in Justin Vollmer's gaze, an icy look that was far too sober. The next morning at breakfast, Justin Vollmer sat at the table calm and composed. As I kept stealing glances at him, he chuckled lightly and asked, "Why are you staring at me?" His expression was natural, as if he didn't remember anything from the night before. Was it possible he blacked out? I wasn't sure whether to feel relieved or disappointed. If he found out he kissed the wrong person while drunk, and that the person was his stepbrother, would he feel so disgusted that he'd avoid me like the plague? "It's nothing," I started to say, but before I could finish, his phone rang. A sweet, feminine voice came through the line, playful and slightly scolding. "Justin, didn't you say you'd take me shopping today? Why aren't you here yet?" I froze. That voice. I recognized it. It was Joanna Rice. Justin's tone was warm, almost indulgent. "Sorry, I overslept. I'm on my way now." With that, he stood up, not even finishing his breakfast, and grabbed his coat to leave. I shot up from my seat, taking a few hurried steps to catch up, and grabbed his hand. "At least finish your breakfast before you go." He gently patted my head, then pulled his hand away, his tone rush. "No, I don't want to keep her waiting." Without another glance, he walked out. Justin Vollmer was always a disciplined person, someone who rarely bent his principles. But Joanna Rice was the exception. I should have known better, but at that moment, I just wanted to see. If I asked him to stay, would he? The answer was no. In the days that followed, Justin Vollmer was either out all night, or rushing off to meet Joanna Rice after her late-night calls at 2 or 3 in the morning. Uncle Vollmer commented, "Justin must be in love. He's always so composed and calculated, but now, he's acting like a reckless young man, all flustered and impulsive." I looked at Justin Vollmer's recent social media post. It was a picture of him at Joanna Rice's place, wearing an apron and cooking dinner. The caption read, "Preparing dinner for the little princess." A dull ache spread through my chest, as though someone were slicing into my heart with a rusty knife, slowly and deliberately. In the photo, Justin looked so happy, his face radiating joy. The sight of it drove me mad with jealousy. I couldn't stop myself from obsessively thinking about how to keep Justin by my side, even if he hated me or was disgusted by me. It was better than him falling in love with someone else. My thoughts grew more obsessive, more twisted. Justin Vollmer, he's mine. Justin Vollmer can only be mine. I started buying things online, an eye mask, sedatives, rope. I made all the preparations. I even arranged for Uncle Vollmer and my mother to go on an extended trip abroad. There were only a few daytime servants left in the house. Now, I just had to wait for Justin Vollmer to come home. 5 or 6 days passed before he finally returned. It was already 11 p.m. when he walked through the door. Seeing me still sitting on the sofa, he frowned slightly. "Why are you still up this late?" I didn't answer directly. Instead, I looked at him and asked, "Brother, why are you coming home so late?" He pressed his lips together, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. Joanna Rice mentioned a new movie she wanted to see, so I went with her. I feigned indifference and asked, "Is Joanna Rice your girlfriend now?" "She's not, yet." Just in reply, his smile still intact, as if catching Joanna Rice was only a matter of time. And why wouldn't it be? After all, who wouldn't fall for someone as exceptional as Justin Vollmer? I took a deep breath and handed him the glass of water sitting on the table. "Brother, you must be thirsty after saying so much. Here, have some water." He looked at me, slightly surprised, probably because I'd never acted this considerate before. Sweat was forming in my palms. No matter how reckless I seemed outside, I was still just a 19-year-old boy. My heart was racing, and cold sweat soaked my back. Justin Vollmer suddenly let out a cryptic chuckle. He twirled the glass in his hand twice before lifting his gaze to stare at me directly. His deep eyes were unreadable, making me wonder for a moment if he knew I had drugged the water. But the next second he smiled, patted my shoulder, and said warmly, "Our Kevin has grown up, caring about his big brother now." With that, he raised the glass and drank it all in one go. By midnight, I calculated the drug should have taken effect. Quietly, I slipped into Justin Vollmer's room. He was sleeping soundly, his breathing steady and even. I stared at his serene sleeping face, reaching out to gently trace his brows and eyes. Justin Vollmer was incredibly handsome, especially when he smiled. His warmth was like the sun, impossible to look away from. My fingers brushed over his lips. The softness reminded me of that fiery kiss from the other night. My throat tightened, and I felt the sudden dryness in my mouth. Unable to resist, I leaned down and kissed him, hard with a touch of punishment in the act. The kiss was intense, but Justin Vollmer didn't wake. However, he seemed uncomfortable, his brows knitting slightly. I pulled back, seeing his lips darken with the imprint of my own, and felt an inexplicable sense of satisfaction. I took out the rope and tied his hands and feet, then slipped an eye mask over his eyes. Once everything was done, I scooped him up and carried him to the underground garage. Before Justin Vollmer returned, I had already picked the perfect location to keep him a secluded, quiet place far from the city center, where no one would discover my treasure locked away just for me. As I placed Justin in the passenger seat, I noticed his pale wrists had been chafed red by the coarse rope. Without a second thought, I untied the bindings and drove to the nearest pharmacy. The store clerk was watching a TV drama. Perhaps it was fate playing tricks on me, but the scene on his screen was of the male lead imprisoning the female lead, to have her all to himself. In the drama, the female lead discovered her captor was her so-called brother, and she broke down, crying hysterically. "Hello, $25, the clerk's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. I withdrew my gaze and calmly pulled out my phone to pay. When I returned to the car, Justin Vollmer was still unconscious. I took his hand in mine and carefully applied ointment to the red marks left on his wrist by the coarse rope. Then, I stared at him for a long time. Eventually, feeling restless, I got out of the car and walked a short distance to light a cigarette. Justin Vollmer didn't like me smoking. He had mentioned it once, and after that, I never smoked again. But after leaving the pharmacy, my agitation grew unbearable. So I bought a pack of cigarettes from the convenience store next door. I squatted by the roadside and smoked 3 cigarettes in a row. As I pulled out a fourth, my mind finally started processing everything. Would Justin Vollmer react like that female lead? Would he question me loudly, asking why I did such a thing? Would he be unable to accept the truth and break down crying? Would Justin Vollmer feel heartbroken? After all, he was about to be with the person he had always yearned for, only to be imprisoned by someone he considered his younger brother, someone who harbored disgusting thoughts about him. Of course, Justin Vollmer would be devastated. I ran a hand through my hair, gripping it tightly, and sank to the ground in frustration. What was I doing? Justin Vollmer had always been so good to me. He was about to be with the person he loved. And yet here I was, hurting him from my own selfish desires. I kicked the edge of the flower bed hard, tossed the remaining cigarettes into the trash, and leaned against the car to air out the smell before driving home. Once back, I gently laid Justin Vollmer on his bed, set an alarm for him for the next morning, and destroyed all the tools I had prepared for my plan. Then I pulled out my suitcase and began packing my things. At 3 in the morning, I called in Salem, who was still playing games. The background noise on his end was chaotic, as if he was at an internet cafe. "Oh, what a surprise, Brother Kevin. Didn't you say your brother doesn't allow you to stay up late? What are you doing awake at this hour?" I didn't feel like explaining and simply said, I ran into something. I'm planning to go abroad for a while. Are you coming with me? There was a long silence on the other end before Salem's voice came back, unusually serious. You should just turn yourself in. I held back and held back, but in the end, I couldn't help but curse. And, have you been watching too many dramas? Do I look like the kind of person who'd break the law? I suddenly thought of how I had almost locked up my own brother earlier and nervously rubbed my nose. Actually, I was that kind of person. Faint. This guy really knew me too well. Then why are you going abroad? I'm dealing with some relationship issues, I said. And Salem immediately got excited. Good brother. I'll head home and pack my bags right now. Let's meet at the airport, and you can tell me everything in detail then. With that, he hung up the phone. As I dragged my suitcase toward the door, I couldn't resist opening Justin Vollmer's door one last time. He was sleeping deeply. I reached out and gently touched his face. The only solution I could think of now is to leave the country for the rest of the summer and head straight to school afterward. That way, I wouldn't see Justin Vollmer, and I wouldn't do anything that might hurt him. By then, Justin would probably have won over Joanna Rice. He'd be happy. That's good. If Justin is happy, I'll be happy. A tear fell and landed squarely on Justin's eyelid. His eyelid twitched slightly, and I froze, holding my breath, thinking he might wake up. After a long time, he still didn't open his eyes. It must have been a reflexive twitch. After all, Justin trusted me so much. He'd never suspect that I would drug him. I closed the door and left for the airport. When I arrived, and Salem was already waiting, the moment he saw me, he couldn't stop talking. Tell me, what kind of love problem is so bad that you had to leave the country overnight? Don't tell me you've fallen for Joanna Rice, and are afraid your brother will hunt you down if he finds out. I opened my mouth, thought about it, and decided it was better not to say anything. Even though and claimed he'd never spill my secrets, his face couldn't hide anything. If I told him today, tomorrow his face would be telling Justin Vollmer, hey, your little brother likes you. I racked my brain for an excuse, but misunderstood anyway. Is it so hard to admit? Don't tell me you're secretly someone's side piece. I couldn't hold back and punched him in the arm. In the end, I came up with a less obvious excuse. I fell for someone I shouldn't have. And Salem nodded, as if he understood everything, as if he had it all figured out, and Salem concluded that I liked Joanna Rice. I was left speechless, unable to defend myself. By the time we arrived in Paris, both of us decided to rest at the hotel and explore the city the next day. However, by evening, I found myself cornered at my hotel room door, but my brother. At first, I thought it was in Salem, so I didn't even check the peephole before opening the door. The moment I saw Justin Vollmer standing there, I instinctively panicked and tried to shut the door. But Justin raised his hand, forcefully holding the door open, and pushed his way into the room. His expression was icy, and his presence exuded an intimidating aura that sent a shiver down my spine. I used to be afraid of Justin Vollmer before he started being kind to me. I wouldn't have dared to provoke him, even when I used to speak harshly to him. It was just a front to mask my insecurity. But once we became close, my fears seemed to vanish. After finding out he was scared of thunderstorms, I even thought he was a little endearing. So, when Salem claimed my brother was terrifying, I had immediately dismissed the idea. But now, seeing Justin like this, I felt a long-forgotten fear creeping back in. I couldn't tell if he had come to confront me about what I did that night. Nervously, I avoided his gaze, unable to meet his eyes. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Salem open his door across the hall. The moment he spotted Justin, he quickly walked over and positioned himself between us. Look, even if Kevin likes Joanna Rice, you didn't have to chase him all the way here. He's your brother, after all, and said. I froze, my throat tightening. My gaze flicked up to meet Justin's, and I felt my scalp tingle with unease. And Salem, you're such a great teammate. Justin raised an eyebrow. You like Joanna Rice. I cleared my throat, just about to deny it, but caught in again, as if sealing my fate. Of course, brother Kevin told me himself. Justin shot a cold glare at him, his voice sharp. Are you finished? And immediately deflated, throwing me a helpless "this is all I can do for you." Brother looked before retreating to his room. Some brother you are. I thought bitterly. You might as well have stabbed me in the back. Justin's eyes, filled with an unreadable intensity, locked onto mine. His tone was pointed. You like Joanna Rice. I had no choice but to bite the bullet and respond, yeah. He let out a cold laugh, grasped my chin with one hand, and forced me to look up at him. His tone was icy, devoid of any warmth or emotion. Oh, so you've got a woman you like, yet you drug your own brother and kiss him. What do you call that? He leaned down, his warm breath brushing against my neck as he whispered in my ear, Kevin, are you twisted? My breath hitched, and I stared at Justin Vollmer in disbelief, my mouth opening and closing, unable to utter a word. He straightened up and walked past me toward the bed without looking back. I quietly inched toward the door, my hand cautiously gripping the doorknob. Just as I was about to turn it, Justin's cold, sinister voice rang out, brother, try running again, and I'll show you just how dirty the games in high society can get. Justin sat on the edge of the bed, his gaze dark and piercing, his smile chilling. He looked anything but amused. He beckoned me with a curl of his fingers. Come here. I couldn't control my legs as they moved toward him of their own accord. He yanked me into his arms, and I stumbled, landing on his lap. His hand brushed lightly across my face, his touch gentle yet unnervingly possessive. You went so far as to drug me. Why run away? I was afraid you'd hate me once you woke up. He let out a dry laugh. Kevin, plenty of people have tried to scheme against me. Did you really think your little tricks could escape my notice? I willingly played along. And what happened? The moment I woke up, you were already halfway across the world. Frustration bubbled inside me, and I snapped back. Aren't you the one who likes Joanna Rice? Then why did you drink the water knowing it was drugged? He stared at me for a long moment before finally frowning, as if he couldn't hold it in any longer. Joanna Rice. She's someone I hired to act for me, to give you a sense of urgency. I wanted to hear you say you like me. Was that so hard? Then if you like me, why didn't you just tell me? He laughed, exasperated. You think I wasn't being obvious enough? I pretended to be afraid of thunder just to crawl into your bed in the middle of the night. And what did you say? Good brothers sharing a bed is no big deal. I was practically throwing myself at you that night, and you still pushed me away. Tell me, how was I supposed to confess after that? Finally, he sighed heavily, his voice thick with emotion. Kevin, I'm 7 years older than you. I navigate the business world with confidence because I know I'll win. But with you, I've always been uncertain. I've been terrified that your feelings for me were just a fleeting whim, so I needed to hear it from you. I needed you to tell me that you like me. I had no idea. I thought I was the only one tormented by this relationship, but Justin Vollmer had been just as deeply troubled. Without thinking, I leaned up and kissed him hard on the lips. Justin didn't back down. With one swift move, he pushed me down beneath him, deepening the kiss. I felt his hand slip under my shirt, and I heard him say, Kevin, when I give you a chance, you don't take it. From now on, you won't get another one. Before I could figure out what he meant, I was swept away by a wave of desire. It wasn't until much later that I realized the full meaning of his words. Honestly, I felt like I had missed out on a fortune. When I woke up again, I was lying in Justin Vollmer's arms. He was already awake, calmly handling work on his phone. When he noticed I was awake, he closed his phone, kissed my forehead, and asked, hungry? His words immediately brought last night's events rushing back. Justin saying he hadn't eaten dinner yet and telling me to feed him. My face turned red instantly. Justin seemed to realize what I was thinking. His hand slipped under the blanket and gave my waist a playful squeeze. Despite the mischievous gesture, his expression remained perfectly composed, and his tone was impossibly normal. Hungry. Yet somehow, it felt like he was asking something entirely inappropriate. I swatted his hand away, hurriedly pulled on my pants, and bolted to the bathroom. When Justin tried to follow, clearly up to no good, I shut the door in his face. When we were both dressed and ready to leave, we ran into Salem in the hallway, without hesitation, and rushed over, tugging at my clothes. Did your brother hate you? Let me see. I clutched my collar tightly, looking toward Justin for help. Normally, Justin hated seeing Anne and me getting too close, but this time, he leaned casually against the doorframe with his arms crossed, watching with amusement as he yanked at my collar, and managed to pull it open, revealing a trail of purplish red marks on my collarbone. He froze, staring at me in shock. Justin walked over, calmly adjusted my collar, and then turned to the stunned in. See that? I did it. Remember this. Don't go hugging him casually anymore. He's mine. With that, Justin wrapped an arm around my waist and headed for the elevator. I glanced back at him, worried about his reaction, but he was still standing there, completely dumbfounded. Noticing me looking back, Justin frowned, annoyed. He pushed me against the wall and kissed me deeply, leaving no room for argument. The next second, I heard Salem scream, "Holy crap." After lunch, Justin Vollmer went off to handle some work, and then quietly sneaked over to me. You two really? He made a suggestive gesture with his hand. I immediately understood. My face heating up slightly. Trying to act calm, I gave a small nod. As expected, and his mouth dropped open in shock. Wait, wasn't your brother chasing after Joanna Rice? After I explained the whole truth, and clicked his tongue in amazement, no wonder he's infamous for being cunning in your circle. That whole pity act, he got you to surrender without a fight, totally had you wrapped around his finger. What a scumbag. Noticing Justin approaching, I quickly signaled and to stop talking. Unfortunately, he didn't get the hint. Right in front of him, Justin pulled me into a deep kiss, leaving and to let out another scream of despair. When Justin and I were preparing to return home, I asked him if he wanted to come with us. He glanced warily at the man standing behind me, and declared he needed to wash his eyes and wouldn't be joining us. I had a strong suspicion Justin did it all on purpose. Justin shrugged. Baby, you suspect me. That hurts my feelings. Then he leaned in to kiss me. Kisses make it better. Faint, and finally snapped and kicked us both out. Justin, looking utterly innocent, commented he seems to have some sort of rage disorder. So scary. Baby, you should stay away from him in the future. I took a deep breath. Seriously, how did I not notice he was this much of a green tea drama king before we started dating? When we got home, the moment we walked in, my mom greeted us. You're back. We only have one rule in this house. Hand-holding and hugs are fine, but no kissing. Oh, and the soundproofing here isn't great. You understand, right? I froze. What? I looked up at Justin, exchanging a confused glance. Did you tell her? I didn't say anything. Then how does she know? Before we could continue our silent conversation, my mom cut in. It wasn't him who told me. Do you think your suggestion to send me and his dad abroad just came out of nowhere? Do you think your Uncle Vollmer brought up Justin's love life at the dinner table by coincidence? No wonder Justin Vollmer always said I was dense. The whole family knew about his feelings for me. Yet there I was, naively planning to force my love on him all by myself. A few days later, Justin moved us out of the Vollmer family estate. It was only then I realized he had never stayed there full-time. He only came back when I was on vacation, even while I was at school. He wasn't idle. He'd often show up at my university to take me out for meals. Now, with me trapped securely in his arms, he was settling accounts. Didn't I tell you not to smoke? I tried to defend myself stubbornly. Which eye of yours saw me smoking? I was confident he didn't know. After all, he had drunk that glass of water. Justin chuckled, his tone lazy and relaxed. Baby, you've never heard of dash cams, have you? Faint, I let my guard down. He slowly began unbuttoning my shirt. How many cigarettes did you smoke that day? 3, I replied firmly. He stared at me silently, his gaze making me squirm. Finally, I caved. Fine, 5. Justin leaned in and bit my earlobe gently. Disobedient and a liar. Tell me, how should I make sure you learn your lesson? I shivered under his touch and hastily promised, there won't be a next time, brother. He chuckled lightly. Say something sweeter. I hesitated, my face burning with embarrassment. But in the end, I reluctantly murmured, hubby. He responded with satisfaction. That'll take a day off your punishment. What? In the end, I didn't leave the house for 5 days. When I confronted him, I asked, didn't you say you'd take a day off? He leaned in and kissed the corner of my lips. Lying counts as an extra day. Baby, classic capitalist behavior, Vollmer, the ultimate exploiter, squeezing me dry without mercy. Justin Vollmer's side story. When Justin first met Kevin, he really couldn't stand him. Kevin had a tuft of blonde hair sticking out like a feather duster, 2 earrings, and an air of delinquency, smoking, fighting, the whole bad boy package. When his father introduced Kevin as his new little brother, Justin gave him a cold glance, noting the way the boy sat slouched with one leg crossed over the other, his entire demeanor brimming with hostility. After that, Justin ignored him completely. When did that start to change? One day, while stuck in traffic on his way home, Justin decided to take a different route. By chance, he saw Kevin standing up for a girl who was being bullied. At that moment, he thought, maybe Kevin isn't entirely hopeless after all. Afterward, Justin found himself unconsciously driving down Kevin's school road more and more often. He would watch Kevin help an elderly woman cross the street, feed stray cats and dogs, build a little shelter for kittens, and escort an injured classmate home. Eventually, Justin realized that on the days he didn't see Kevin on that road, he would feel an uncontrollable urge to seek him out. That's when he knew he had fallen. So, he began reaching out to Kevin, trying to get closer. As expected, Kevin's heart was soft. Despite Justin's previous indifference, Kevin quickly accepted him as a brother the moment Justin showed him the slightest bit of kindness. Justin took full advantage of Kevin's soft heart. After Kevin's college entrance exams on a rainy night, Justin lied to him. Kevin, can I sleep with you? I'm afraid of thunder. As expected, Kevin let him in. From that night on, Justin began to tease, tempt, and carefully set traps for his oblivious lover. Finally, he was rewarded with a glass of water laced with something special. But instead of waking up next to Kevin as he had anticipated, Justin found out that Kevin and Salem had fled the country overnight. And Salem, of course, it was him. He was always hugging and hanging all over Kevin, and Justin couldn't do anything about it. He couldn't hit him. Kevin would get angry. He couldn't scare him. Kevin would be upset. So Justin decided he needed to send a clear warning. Kevin was his, and he needed to back off. The solution: he kissed Kevin in front of Anne and left marks on Kevin's skin for Anne to see. Yes, it was intentional. Finally, that annoying third wheel learned to keep his distance. Justin, did you do something to Anne again? Why did he leave halfway through dinner today? Justin immediately wrapped an arm around Kevin's waist, pulling him under him. With a hint of grievance in his voice, he said, "Baby, I didn't do anything dim. You're falsely accusing me again. Come here and comfort me."